My name is Tango. I hope you like the intro. Load VS Code, learn and enjoy the video. I would like to mention that I will not be using a facecam for this video and most likely any upcoming video, because the last time I used a facecam, well, the facecam software with my screen record software, my laptop sounded like it was going to blow up. So just for quality purposes, I won't be using any facecam. In the last episode, well, the first part, we made a JavaScript animation where we clicked a box and it transitions left to right. We made it transition smoothly. In this one, we want to get into more depth with different types of animations with images and simple elements, even text and buttons. So I want to be using different listeners. Last time we only used clicked. This time we'll be using more stuff like mouses and when the page loads and such as. So I'm gonna pull up the website that you saw in the intro, but this website won't be animated. As you can see, we have a simple navbar, we have a SVG, a hero image you could say, and some text. We've also got our location section. This section could be used to link us to the location of the store, and we also have some information. So I would also like to mention that I won't be explaining too much on the HTML and CSS. The HTML CSS will be in a link below in the GitHub, where you could take each of the files, and you can also take the image files and download the images, so you can follow along with me. If you want to use your own images, that's perfectly fine too. So I'll be including the GitHub link down below. I'll be coding out most of the JavaScript and explain how the JavaScript works, and I'll be looking into the HTML file very briefly and so with the CSS, so you can understand what's going on. So I'm going to pull up my files on the left, and you can see I have 3 files here. I've got, well, 1 folder and 2 files. I've got my image folder where you could download in the GitHub link below, and then I've got my index HTML and style.css. So I'm going to go into my index.html, and then you can see the font I used. It was Poppins. That might be useful if you want to use the same font as me. The section 1 is pretty simple. Section 2, I want to explain that you don't need to have this SVG tag here. My plan was to animate the SVG. However, if I did that, I think the video will go on for too long, and perhaps I'll do it in another video, but for this video I won't be animating any SVG. You can replace this for an image tag if you want, or you can have this as it is. If we go down, we can see our information on the right, and we'll be animating this with the classes we have here. And then here we can see our split image. So we've got our left image, right image, and then the location icon. And in the last section we have cards, 3 cards, and all of these are being display flexed. Let me show you that on the CSS. So if I go right on the top, you can see the basic styling. You can see the font I use. I also did overflow X, so we don't worry about having to scroll left to right. I've done the basic flex on the navigation. I've also did basic flex on the cards as I said before. Let me go down. Let me actually do Control F and write transition. So we go right to the top. So you can see the button class. We'll be animating the button class. So we'll be animating this first. Well, we will be animating this, and we'll also be animating the. Sorry, we'll also be animating the two images. So the plan is whenever we put our mouse onto this icon, these two images slide up and down, and then they also come together to form one single image. We'll also be, let me do transition. So we will also animate the cards. So whenever we hover our mouse over, we want it to go up a bit and tilt to the left, and I think that should be it. You don't need to worry about leaf actually, because we won't be animating the leaf. The leaf was gonna be these leaves. The plan was it to wiggle a bit time to time, but as I said, I won't be doing that as the video will be going on for too long. So that's the HTML and CSS explained. Let's go over the JavaScript. We need to make a JavaScript file. So we'll go over to this file icon and we'll do app.js, and in the index.html right at the bottom I've already linked it up. So if you copy and paste the file from my GitHub, you should have this already. If you haven't, remember to add the app.js file link to the HTML. And then what I'm gonna do is code out a little bit of it and then come back, and then you can I'll explain to you what I've coded out. Okay, so I've coded out the JavaScript. I'll explain it, but let me also pull up the CSS. So style.css, you can see I've used the button classes, so let me go over to the button class. Okay, so before I explain it, I will show you an example of what I did here with JavaScript. So I come to the website that we've created, and if we put our mouse over the shop button, you can see the button gets animated pretty smoothly, and if we go out, it gets animated back. So it goes pink to a hollow pink to a filled pink with the black text. So if we go to our function, we can see we have a main function here, and this function will basically execute any other function we make, and this is the button function we made here. And the reason I do it like this is to keep our animations pretty clean, because if we make animations into components, it'll be easier to figure out which animation does what. So we have a button function, and we take the button class from the HTML document, and we add an event listener, and this event listener is new. It's called mouse enter. Let me go to this website called W3 Schools, where you could look at each and every event listener that you can do with JavaScript. But let me find mouse enter, and if I scroll down, you can see right here mouse enter. The event occurs when the pointer is moved onto the element. So that's pretty simple. Whenever the pointer is in the element, it gets the function gets executed, and the function basically changes the button background to white, and then changes the color to this specific pink color we have, which is this one here. And whenever the mouse leaves the element, so if we do mouse leave, which is actually here, mouse leave right here, The event occurs when the pointer is moved out from the element. So whenever this is moved out, we'll see that the background goes back to its pink color, and the text color goes back to black. So if we put it in, it'll recognize this is mouse enter, and then it'll execute the transition. And if we pull it out, you'll see it'll recognize this mouse leave, and then it'll change it back to its film pink with the text color black. If we go to our style.css, I want to point out that I've did a border of solid 2 pixel and pink, and if we don't do this, so let me comment this out, if we do not do this, if we go back to the HTML, if we put the mouse over it, you won't see that pink outline. The reason we have that pink outline is because in the CSS pre-hand we did a border, and if we put a mouse over it, you can see that border. So make sure you have this border. Another thing to notice is we have this transition of 200 millisecond. This is a fairly quick millisecond, 1/5 of a second. So whenever we go in, it's going to be 200 milliseconds transition. Whenever we go out, it's going to be another 200 milliseconds. So hopefully you understood that button animation, and we'll work on the next animation right now. So I've coded out the fading of the text whenever we load the screen. You may see the JavaScript is pretty short. You can see it's 7 lines and then another additional line on top. But we had to do a bit of setup in the CSS, and let me show you that. We had to do .text1, s1 text, which is actually not the individual elements. It's if we find it, it's a container that holds the H1 and P. So if we go to the website, this is the H1, this is a paragraph, and this is the container that holds both of the H1 and paragraph. And if we go to app.js, we'll actually see what it does before before I explain it. So if we refresh the page, if we refresh it, you can see it goes from bottom to top. It looks a bit jittery because my laptop is buffering a bit, but now you can see it's smoother going from bottom to top with opacity 0 to 1. And you may notice the event here is actually DOM content loaded. What this DOM content loaded means is when everything in the HTML script is loaded, so every element in the HTML script is loaded, this will kick off, and Windows is basically a variable that we're given already. So window, if we just write window, we should be given this. Window is basically everything that we can see in the website, so that includes all the elements, and that includes the metadata and everything we need to know in the website. So window.event listener. So in the website, wait for the event listener. DOM content loading meaning wait for the website to load, and when the website has loaded, change the text1 group is text1 s1 text, sorry, change that to opacity 1 and change that to a top of 0. And the reason we did 0 opacity 0 here is because we can have that fade effect. So if we reload again, hopefully we do one more time, yeah, you can see that fade effect where it goes from 0 opacity to 1. And then you can see I did a top of 80 pixel because I wanted to go from 80 pixel to 0 pixel, and transition of 1.5 seconds, which is basically 1500 milliseconds. And if we go here, we can see that we included the fade function in the main function. Don't forget to do this. If you don't do this, it won't be part of the main function. So we've got two pieces of animation working so far. We've got this top part where it fades, and then this short part where it fades, where it animates smoothly. Now what we need to work on is this part where whenever we hover our mouse over this icon, this goes down, this goes up, and then they're all merged together. So I will work on that and I'll come back when I have. Okay, so I'm done with the JavaScript. Before I'll explain what's going on here, I'll show you what's happened. So let's start from the top, refresh the page. You can see the fade still working, you can see the button still working. But this time, if we go down to this section, if we put our mouse over the icon, you can see the image getting snapped back together. If you put it away, it gets splitted. So that's what we did with JavaScript. Essentially what's happening is this left image is going downwards and this right image is going upwards, and then they're getting connected together. So this is going left by 2 pixels and this is going right by 2 pixels. So if we do this, they get connected. If we put a mouse away, they get separated. So what's happening here is, well, before I explain the JavaScript, I want to mention that I didn't change the CSS or HTML, so this was just JavaScript. So we wanted to get the location icon, and this location icon with this icon right here, which is basically, it can be a link to another site, but for now it's just going to be a dead link. And then we get the left image and the right image, which is self-explanatory. This is the left, this is the right. And what we do is whenever the user puts their mouse over the location, we want to reset the bottom value of the left image, reset the top value of the right image, and change the left and right value of each of the two images. So essentially what we're doing is resetting the images back to its place, and when we go put the mouse away, it gets split again, and that's done by this, which is basically giving it a top of 60 pixel, bottom of top 60 pixel, and top of 60 pixel, and we're resetting its value to have this gap in the center. So whenever we put a mouse, it gets connected. When we put a mouse away, it gets separated. The last bit of animation we can do is this card, and I'm going to code that out right now. Come back when I'm done. Okay, so that's the cards done. I'm going to quickly show you what I've done. So I'm going to refresh the page. Remember, we have this fading up and down, this very laggy, there you are. And then if we go into the button, it fades. If we put our mouse over, it slides. And what we've done to the cards is when we put a mouse over this, it transitions up. At first it snaps upwards, but then it smoothly goes upwards. So we've pretty much got a card that tilts left to the we rotate the card, and we also make it go upwards a bit. So let's go to the CSS quickly. Have a look at the CSS, and if we go to the card, we should be here. You can see the ease being 300 milliseconds, and this is the rest of the CSS if you want to have a look at it. But if we go to the app.js, we can see we get the cards. So we get all the cards. So remember what happens when we get all of the cards. We get a list of cards, and what we need to do is loop over the list of cards, and we have 3 cards here, so we're going to loop over 3 cards all the time. And whenever the user puts the mouse into the card, we get the target and put in the variable, and then we make it go up a bit and we rotate it. Whenever the user puts the mouse away from the card, we get the target, we reset its value, and we reset its value again, rotation value and bottom value. And then what we do at the end is we call the function in the main, and we have btn, fade, slide and cards, and we've got 4 functions here. serving 4 different animations. So if we go to the top, hopefully it works soon. There you are, you can see animating smoothly. If we put our mouse over here, it hollows out, put it away, it fills in. If we scroll down, if we put our mouse over here, it snaps, well it slides. If we put a mouse down here, at first it's gonna snap, but after the first hover, it's gonna transition smoothly. So that's the video. I hope you found it useful. If you found it useful, make sure to subscribe and like. If you enjoyed the video, also make sure to subscribe and like. If you got any questions or maybe some video suggestions, comment down below.